then there was an unfamiliar noise behind us. The sliding boathouse door quickly opened and then slammed shut. Standing there, dripping wet, fresh out of prison, was Tom Seaton. In his hand, Tom held a knife.
Hello, Paul. Jimmy. Tom. Oh, no.
Welcome back to Life's Learning Curve. Storytelling. Our own life stories, full of humor, some cringeworthy moments, and at times, a grander purpose. Did you ever wonder just how you became the person you are today? That's us. Storytelling. And now, our host, the man with the evacuation plan. Hurricane evacuation plan. Paul Hart.
The heat in Key Largo, Florida in August can be relentless, but it's nothing, absolutely nothing compared to the threat of an approaching hurricane. Survive, find that secure small space, hunker down, stay safe. You may have to stay there for days. Enter family, enter friends, or maybe even enter strangers with you. On this episode, a hurricane is coming. Imprisoning us with an outcome that, well, we just didn't see coming. Sebastian.
Here we go. Life's Learning Curve. Episode, The Hurricane and the Secret. Stand by.
Now, the dog days of summer were hot, humid, and brutal in the sleepy little fishing village of Key Largo in the Florida Keys, and that was where life had placed me at that point in my life. It was August, and even though the humidity was like grabbing a handful of water out of the thin air, my cotton t-shirt, my swim trunks, kept me cool enough. A gentle Gulf breeze made my days just bearable. I woke up that day with the sun, and I grabbed a Cuban coffee from Thomasina's Corner Cafe.
Paul, happy Monday.
Yeah, Thomasina. No one brews up a good Cuban coffee like you.
I saw you coming. You know, you're working too hard.
Yeah, I know.
Have a good one.
Yes, ma'am. Key Largo can be a tropical paradise. Pristine beaches, crystal clear waters, and a vibrant array of palm trees, mangroves, and tropical flowers seemingly everywhere. The island's constant heat, it encouraged a relaxed pace of life, and I was about to head to the Gulfside docks where I worked repairing boats. Salt and sweat had become, constants in my life, and I'd learned to live with them. After all, it was Key Largo, with Bogart vibes intact. You know, being there for me was worth every drop of sweat. But today was different. My beater, my world-weary Chevy truck. It was old, I knew that. My pride and joy, despite its many flaws of age, was missing again. Oh, not again. Where's my truck this time? I knew where to look. Jimmy Seaton. He must have taken it. So, off I went to the junkyard. See, a few months back, my truck payment had been overdue. It had nothing to do with my carelessness or my irresponsibility, or a money issue even. It was something much deeper and more painful. My mentor, a man named Woody, a man with a story for every season and every situation, had been diagnosed with, a rare illness last year. Now, Woody had always been there for me. Now, it was my turn to be there for him. His medical bills had piled up quickly, and despite working double shifts at the docks, I found myself struggling just to keep up. I never really told anyone about Woody's condition, not even my closest friends. Pride, maybe, or just not wanting to burden them with my problems. So, when Jimmy took my truck the first time, I didn't argue with him or plead a case. I just worked harder, hoping to make things right somehow. As I approached Jimmy Seaton's boneyard, the heat waves made the air shimmer in the air. Now, Jimmy was a character right out of the old Florida Keys character playbook. Middle-aged, an import from Australia, grizzled and sweat-stained, wearing a ragged tank top usually, or just a shirt, tousled uncut hair, and a baseball cap frequently that read, Largo, Bar, Go. There was Jimmy, sitting in the shade of a rusted-out old bus, a smirk on his face as he saw me coming.
Morning, Paul. Morning, Jimmy. Where's my truck? It's over there in the corner. Payment's almost overdue.
My lack of patience was creeping up on me. Trying to keep calm, I said to Jimmy,
Almost. We had a deal, Jimmy. I'm good for the money. You know that. Yeah, well, last time you were a week late. And I can't have that kind of unreliability in my business. So you told my truck before my payment was due? Ah, come on, Jimmy. What's this really all about? You really don't know, do you? Enlighten me. Okay. It was about 3 years ago. Tom, me brother, and he got into some trouble. Ended up in jail. Remember that? I bet you do. Think about it, Paul. You were the witness at his trial. Remember? You're the one whose testimony put him away.
My memory clicked. Jimmy's brother had been involved in a string of burglaries, and he was dangerous, a wild card. And whether I'd liked it or not, I'd done my job, in court at least.
Come on, Jimmy. Your brother Tom Seaton. He wasn't just a petty thief. He was the leader of that burglary ring that terrorized our community in the Keys. His crew targeted small businesses and family homes, stealing anything valuable. It was a crime spree. It made everyone feel, kind of unsafe to live around here. Yes, I know. Tom and his crew were skilled at picking locks and disabling security systems that left little evidence. Well, Tom got careless until that night. That night they busted into the jewelry store at mile marker 52, smashing the display cases and stealing thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. You remember. I was on duty that night and I responded to that alarm. I caught him in the act in the store. The chase followed through the narrow Gulfside sand streets of Key Largo. Stop running! Tom, your brother resisted arrest. Got into a scuffle that ended with me having to subdue him, let's say more forcefully than I would have liked. You filthy animal. Alright, you got me. Come with me, come on. Your brother was breaking the law over and over, Jimmy. I did what I had to do. Maybe so, Paul, but you made it personal. My brother told me how you roughed him up. I lost my only family member because of you. Oh, Jimmy, I didn't mean for that to happen. I was just doing my job. But I'll tell you, I get it. I do. I'm sorry.
Jimmy looked away. His tough facade started to crack for a moment.
Sorry, Paul. Doesn't get him out of jail, does it, though? Jimmy, it doesn't. But holding on to this grudge that you have, taking my truck every chance you get, it won't change anything either. Maybe. You're right. But I need some time. Take all the time you need. Just let me work off what I owe you, fair and square. Deal. Your truck's over there. Keys are inside. Get it out of here before I change my mind.
I gave a small smile of gratitude and I walked over to my truck. As I drove out of the boneyard that day, the Gulf Stream breeze seemed a little cooler, the day a little more bearable, and maybe, just maybe, the heat of August would ease up for both of us. But boy, was I wrong. A few weeks passed, and the grudge between Jimmy and me seemed to be thawing. I worked off what I owed him bit by bit, fixing up junk cars in his boneyard after my repair shifts were over. Now that tension that had been so thick between us began to lift, replaced by a tentative truce of sorts. One evening as I was finishing up, a familiar voice called out.
Paul, got a minute? Sure, hold on. Let me wipe my hands. What's up, Jimmy?
Jimmy looked uneasy. His usual tough demeanor was replaced by something more vulnerable.
Look, I've been thinking about what you said about holding on to grudges, and maybe you're right. I've been taking my anger out on you because I just don't know how to deal with all this. It's not easy, Jimmy, but carrying that weight around doesn't help anyone.
Jimmy nodded and his gaze was distant.
Yeah, actually, anyway, there's something else. There's a storm coming. It's a big one, Paul. You might want to go secure your boat and get ready. What? A storm? Jimmy, how bad? They say real bad, Paul. A category 4, and they're saying we don't have much time. Let's move, my man. Yeah.
The news hit hard. Hurricanes were a big part of life in the Florida Keys, but they were never something to be taken lightly.
Hey, thanks for the heads up, Jimmy. No problem, Paul.
I spent the next few hours securing my boat, making sure everything was tied down and ready for the coming storm. With each passing minute, the sky grew darker and the air heavier. By nightfall, the winds had picked up, howling through the Key Largo streets. But soon, I would realize that hurricane wasn't the only storm approaching from the southern horizon. The whole town was in a frenzy, everyone working together to brace for the impact of the hurricane. Shutters, plyboard, water bottles, propane tanks sold out in an hour, and surprisingly, there was Jimmy, helping out wherever he could.
Jimmy, over here. Come here. What's up, Paul? Can you give me a hand with this loose tarp?
Jimmy nodded, and together we secured the tarp, battling the growing wind.
Thanks, Jimmy. Grab that line over there. Okay, Paul. Got it. Oh, thanks, my man. No problem. Hey, we got this thing together, right?
For the first time, I saw a flicker of camaraderie in Jimmy's eyes. The storm was bringing out the best in everyone, forcing us to put aside our differences and work as one.
In there, Jimmy.
As the storm grew in intensity, we found ourselves taking shelter in a sturdy old cinder block warehouse on the Gulf side that had withstood many hurricanes before. The wind howled and the rain pounded against the walls. We could hear it. But inside, as we were riding out that Cat 4 storm, we were safe.
How long do you think the storm will last, Paul? Could be hours, Jimmy. I don't know. Could be days. I don't know. We just have to wait it out.
The hours dragged on, and in that time, Jimmy and I talked. We really talked. About his brother, about my job, about his job, about life in Key Largo. The storm outside mirrored the storm that had been between us. But as it began to die down, so did the tension. And then there was an unfamiliar noise behind us. The sliding boathouse door quickly opened and then slammed shut. Standing there, dripping wet, fresh out of prison, was Tom Seaton. In his hand, Tom held a knife.
Hello, Paul. Jimmy? Tom. Oh, no.
My heart raced, and the last thing I expected to see was Tom there. Now, in the midst of the storm, Tom Seaton was an athletic-looking man about 6'2", drenched from head to toe from the Cat 4 hurricane. His face looked as if he'd seen better days.
Tom! What are you doing here?
What do you think, Jimmy? I came to settle some scores.
Tom, put the knife down. This isn't the way. You're a burglar. You've served your time. You're out now, apparently. You're not a killer.
You think I'm here for a chat, Paul? You ruined my life. No. Now, I'm going to ruin yours.
Needless to say, the room was tense. The only sound, the raging storm outside. Jimmy looked at Tom. His loyalty to his brother was clashing with the reality of what was going on, that situation, the present.
Tom, don't do this, eh? We've all made mistakes.
Mistakes? You think turning me in was just a mistake, Jimmy? Is that what you think?
Back then, you were breaking the law. You hurt a lot of people here. I had to stop you that night.
Stop me? Oh yeah? Well, stop this.
Tom lunged at me, the knife gleaming in the dim light, and I dodged, and my years of training in the public school system were kicking in. The confined space made it difficult. We wrestled. The storm outside was echoing our new storm inside. Jimmy finally stepped in between us, trying to separate us.
Get off me, Jimmy.
This isn't the way for you or me.
In the chaos, that knife slipped from Tom's hand, clattering to the floor. We all froze, breathing heavily.
No.
Oh, it doesn't have to be like this, Tom. You can still turn things around.
No. What's the point? My life's already over.
No, it's not, Tom. We can start over. Together. Come on.
Tom slumped to the ground, but now tears were mixing with the salty rainwater and sweat on his face.
Tom. We'll figure this one out together, Tom. I'll be there for you, one step at a time.
Jimmy and I helped Tom up, the three of us united by that storm and the promise of change, of redemption.
Come on, brother.
After exiting our fortress outside, we just stood there. The first rays of dawn were breaking through the clouds, and I realized that sometimes the hardest battles aren't against the elements, but against the storms within us. And so, in the aftermath of that storm, we began to rebuild not just the battered and broken parts of our beloved Key Largo, but our relationship. Jimmy, Tom, and I found common ground, working side by side to repair the damage that day. Mangled docks, runaway boats, the hurricane on its way upstate to Tampa. That Cat 4 storm left us sticky, wet, and exhausted. The heat of August was still there, sure, but it felt different now. Less oppressive, more like a reminder of what we'd all overcome. It was a new beginning. Life gives us that learning curve, that tremendous learning curve. And what did we learn in today's episode? What did Tom or Jimmy learn? Well, what did I learn? Well, life's greatest challenges often come from unexpected places. The tropical heat of Key Largo in August is relentless, but it pales in comparison to the weight of holding on to grudges and hurricanes. Jimmy, Tom, and I discovered that resilience is not just about facing natural disasters. It's also about resolving personal conflicts and finding the strength to move forward. Now, working together, We rebuilt more than physical structures. We mended broken relationships and forged new beginnings. That first day after the Cat 4, we watched the sun set over Key Largo, and we looked forward to a brighter future. And as for Jimmy,
Here's to my mates, the fellas who have seen me at my best, and they've seen me at my worst, and these guys just can't tell the difference. Here's to you. Cheers. Here's to you, Jimmy.
The Life's Learning Curve. I'm Paul Hart.
Subscribe to Life's Learning Curve at lifeslearningcurve.org and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Podchaser.
Episode 86, Season 6 of the Life's Learning Curve podcast, The Hurricane and the Secret, was put together by Sebastian T. Dog and Paul Hart. Visit our website, lifeslearningcurve.org. While you're there, please subscribe. We'd love to have you aboard. This episode has imaginative voice recreations to protect the privacy of others. Some names have been changed and characters conflated. Episode 86, Season 6 of the Life's Learning Curve podcast, The Hurricane and the Secret. For more lifelong stories and realer than real experiences, catch us right here on Life's Learning Curve. We're clear.